Hello, welcome back to the Canyon Heights Ward podcast. Name is still under construction. Um, this week, I am meeting with Bishop Yao. Hello, Bishop Yao.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
I
You?
much prefer Mike, but that's okay.
Well, Mike, that's good to know in this context. Um, So, and yeah, I want it to be personal, and the aim here is to have a conversation as well. So, um, but I thought we would start in the beginning. So, what are a couple memories that you have about your childhood?
Ooh, good question. Um, so, huh. I think probably one of my earliest memories was I was born in California in Glendale, and my family lived in Los Angeles. My dad worked for Robinsons. I don't know if anyone remembers that old department store. And my mom worked for this Beverly Hills clothing company. I don't even know if any of those are around still. But probably one of my first memories was we had our house, I think it's in Silver Lake, California, and I would love to play like drive through. So my parents had bought me one of these remote control cars you can ride in, and I would always pretend that I was driving through McDonald's and would get order food and serve food.
So
So
you would drive by the front door of your house, or
so it was just a rock wall that I pretended was the drive-through.
oh,
Um, so that's probably one of my earliest memories growing up in California. But little did I know that my dad would want to open a restaurant on his own. So that's why we ended up moving to Hawaii. I was in the first grade, I believe, when we did that. So we moved to Hawaii, and that's pretty much what I remember living in Hawaii. But we moved to Hawaii for my dad to open up a fast food restaurant. So he opened up, it was called Island Mixed Plate at Windward Mall in Kaneohe, Hawaii, where he opened up his restaurant. And probably all my memories from then is working at the restaurant. It
yeah.
was in a mall, so we were working all the time. I
You
think there
said
were like,
Island's mixed plate.
correct,
What
Island Mixed Plate. It was a Hawaiian food. So they would make local Hawaiian food. My dad learned how to cook when he was a student at BYU Hawaii. So he came to the States to go to school from the Philippines and kind of stayed since then. So he learned how to cook at the Polynesian Cultural Center in Hawaii. So hence he took kind of all the things that he learned how to cook and created a restaurant.
cool? You said he's built from the Philippines.
He is, yes. So he's Chinese from the Philippines. So his dad is full Chinese and his mom is Filipino. Um, so yeah.
Cool. Uh, just going back for a second, the rock wall. So was there someone at the rock wall, or because a rock wall sounds like there's no one there?
Yeah, it was just me
Okay,
playing pretend.
cool. Um, so how was it growing up in Hawaii? Most people consider that a pretty ideal setting to be in, but how is that when you're not the tourist?
I think it's great. I feel like it's the same. We just have another extracurricular activity as the beach, is what I how I always tell people that. I mean, we did all the same things. We just could go to the beach if we wanted to.
Cool. So did you learn to surf and those kinds of things?
So my parents didn't grow up surfing, so I tried. I was not very good at it. So I tried, and it was a lot of work and it was a lot of effort that I didn't continue it.
Okay.
So I would say I have tried.
So was there a particular water sport or water activity,
Oh,
or was it on the beach like volleyball?
that I guess growing up we would just do boogie boarding. That's a pretty easy thing. So probably that's the one thing I was okay at. As far as surfing, I wasn't very good. I'm a okay swimmer, but
Yeah.
yeah, that
What is
that's it.
what is a boogie board?
So it is, I guess it's half of a surfboard, and you would actually ride the waves on your belly, and you kind of put your chest on the board.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I guess I don't know what it's called. Well, I just grew up learning it as a boogie board.
So I like zero context here. Um, I stay away from the water with my OCD. Just being in a place where there's all these fishes that live, and they have byproducts of living, and everything just isn't my cup of tea. And beaches aren't with the sand, but so everyone else watching this probably knows, but I didn't. Though I will say that when I was a youth, we used to go up um most sorry, I lost
No,
you.
it's okay. I don't know what happened. It just kind of stopped on its own. So sorry if it happens. I don't know what happened.
Um, I will say that growing up, my experience in that kind of area was every summer we would go out to Elephant Butte Lake, um, south of here, and we would go and do the water skiing and things like that. And I was mildly successful at that. Uh, the best experience I had with water skiing, I was doing really good, and then I guess the bishop realized he was driving the boat, and he realized that he had turned into an area where uh, he had to turn around. He wasn't expecting land when they
Oh.
there. And so he's signaling me the turn thing, and I'm like, no, 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 but it's not a question, it's a statement. And so he begins to turn, and for the first few seconds, I'm doing fairly well. I'm like, yeah, I got this. And then next thing I know, one uh, ski falls off, and I'm just flying towards land very quickly. And so I saw the land approach underwater. I could, fortunately, it was, you know, beach rocks and sand. But so, but I was more of a knee border
Okay,
person.
cool. I have to say I've never been water skiing or I've never been kneeboarding.
Okay, cool. So, but you said you went to the beach a lot. So would you
I
always
don't know if I would go to
remember
the beach a
that?
lot.
Oh,
I guess it was just another extracurricular activity we had an option for. So I'd say growing up in Hawaii, it's pretty much like New Mexico, right? Or I guess it's greener, a little more humid. But as far as growing up, like we go to the movies, we go to
okay.
bowling, so kind of all those things. We just had that one extra thing where we could go to the beach if we wanted to.
So your extracurricular activity of choice was movies? Or
I would say I love going to the movies, so that's
I
probably
definitely
um
movie guy. I say,
yeah, so I would say that's probably one of my favorite things to do. Um if I had a free time.
which you do when you're a kid.
Right.
You have more of it, though. I guess you were saying that you worked in the your dad's restaurant a lot.
Correct. Yeah. So that would be like our normal. We would get home from school, we would go to the restaurant, we would do our homework. All of the employees would be our tutors and helping us get our homework done. Then we would help clean up. At 9 p.m. was when we closed. So we'd help clean up, we'd count the money out of the register, and then we would head home. So that was kind of our usual school day as I finished school and went to the restaurant, so went to the mall.
Okay. Um, or the mall, how big was the mall?
Oh, it's probably the same size as Coronado Mall, I would say.
Okay,
So yeah, so we would know most of the people at the mall, just because
right.
me and my sister and our cousins, who I think we were probably at the mall the most, but me and my sister would be at the mall pretty often after school, just
Yeah,
walking around, getting to know people. So that was kind of our home away from home. If you, we were probably at the mall more than we were at home.
okay, cool. Uh, favorite movie or movies?
Oh, I would say I love Goonies is probably one of my most favorite movies.
Very nice. Um, and uh, what's your favorite movie that came out as when you were an adult? More recently.
Oh, um,
I'm
let's see.
assuming Goonies. Did you see that in the theater or
No,
what?
I didn't. No. So a movie that I've seen in the theater. Ooh, I just wish I've seen more movies recently. Let's see. What's a go-to movie of mine? Um,
That's okay. We can move on.
I no, it's okay. This is really funny, but I really love Ratatouille. That is kind of like if it's a Saturday, I'm like, oh, I don't know what to watch. I will usually say maybe I'll watch Ratatouille.
Cool. I've never seen it. I need to.
No, it's a good Pixar one. And
Yeah,
it's not just because I have a kid, but I just always liked it's a great concept of this little it's a mouse that wants to be a chef and he goes on to be a chef. And I think I like those feel good movies where
right.
like an underdog be able to become something big. So
So growing up, for me, the big movie of the year where we went to the theater, though we went more than just for this, uh, was the big movie for me was the Disney musical that came out, because this was the time of Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and uh, the other ones, Lion King. Um, and I always wanted to grow up and be a voice in one of
oh
the.
cool.
Hasn't happened so far, but so that was those were the movies I loved the most.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the last movie I watched, and I think it was Clifford the Big Red Dog. We went with Ezra when we were visiting some family in Utah. It's actually a pretty good movie. So that was the last movie I've seen in the theaters.
Okay. I think I would be remiss if I weren't to point out that my favorite movie now is The Lord of the Rings. Just for everyone that already knows me, they're like, "Are you serious? He's not going to mention Lord of the Rings?" Because we had the Elders Quorum lesson today was on Sister Johnson's talk, invite the Savior to author your story, something like that. And so Blake was teaching and he asked, well, what stories do you guys love? And I was the first to answer. So J.R.R. Tolkien is my favorite author. Yeah. Anyway, so moving on. Uh, any distinct memories from like high school? Kind of.
Ooh. Um, I mean, high school was fun. I would say I was in the marching band. I was in a band in the band. So just the high school band. I think probably the funnest part of being part of the band was you were able to go on band trips. So I think most of my travel in my life is because I was a member of the band. So we would go to um, I think we went to Florida when I was a member of our band. We went to a lot of Disney, I guess. And then we would do some smaller outer island trips. And I would say probably the band was my escape from working at the restaurant. So that's why I continued it
So
there. So
you may have just said it, but I missed it. What instrument?
so I started off with a trumpet. I was okay as a trumpet player, but not the best trumpet player. And then my band director, while I was playing something, is like, wow, you put your mouthpiece really well, or there was a way that I put the mouthpiece on my lips that he's like, you should try the French horn. So I switched over to the French horn.
Oh, yeah,
And there's not many French horn players. So I was able to go a little bit further in kind of the bands because I played an instrument that not a lot of people played.
cool. Yeah, I was in the band in middle school and I played the clarinet, and for a very brief time I played the bass clarinet. But around that time we were discovering that Gregory's heart isn't working very well. So, I didn't have the great lung
All
capacity
that blowing, yeah.
for that. So and then in high school, I switched to choir and I loved choir. Choir was great. Um, so, uh, okay, so growing older, you turn 19. When you put in your papers, did you have any hopes on where you would go?
Oh, I would say actually growing up, I never thought I would serve a mission.
Okay.
That was like never in my plan. I think people growing up would be like, "Oh yeah, when you serve your mission," I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to serve a mission. I was very go to school, get it done. So I never thought I would serve a mission. And then I my junior year of high school, I actually had an opportunity. BYU does a program. It's called SOAR. I believe they still do it. It's like Summer of Academic Refinement or something, but it's for multicultural students. So Hawaii is a great place for multicultural students. So I applied and I went, and I had a great experience just for the summer at BYU for it's a week long. So you kind of live at Heritage Halls, which is, I think, the old Heritage Halls. And I had a great experience there. They have you like take the ACT there, and then you
Oh,
actually can get pre-accepted to BYU. So I was in that group. So I ended up not even applying to any other school than Brigham Young University. So I ended up going to BYU in Provo. And just from my experience there and religion classes, I was like, wow, I think I do want to serve a mission. I don't know if it was because everyone else around me was serving missions, but there was something in me that a testimony that I needed to serve a mission came about, and that's why I served. So,
wait.
um,
And you and me are, I guess, polar opposites there. As you know, I really, really wanted to serve a mission, and for me, I took Italian in high school, so I was hoping to go there. But I was honorably excused, which was very hard. But so yeah, it's all kinds of different dispositions going into things and during things and out of things. So where did you go on your mission?
So I served in the Florida Tallahassee mission. So even before my parents were very surprised I wanted to serve a mission, but they're more than happy to support me in that opportunity. So I was assigned to the Florida Tallahassee mission.
Okay. Any fun memories and spiritual memories that stand out?
Oh yeah, I mean, fun memories. Let's think. Uh, I remember I served in Pensacola, Florida. Some people might know where Pensacola is since we have the Air Force Base here. There's a lot of military stuff there. But I remember this is probably a funny memory more. But we were teaching this lady. Her name was Miss Naomi, and she lived with this family. And the family that she lived with, um, there was a dad there, and he was recently released from prison. Um, that, that doesn't. But he would cut people's hair, and he learned how to cut people's hair in prison, basically. And I remember we were teaching her a lesson, and we're like, "Wow, I really need to get a haircut." He's like, "Let me cut your hair." Um, so he cut my hair, and he's like, "Excuse." He like put on some just very loud rap music, which was fine. We're like, okay, that's no problem. And he was proceeded to cut my hair. And I think what I remember, I was just looking at my companion, and he pulls out a razor blade, and he starts to razor blade the top of my hair just across a straight line, and these fine little like pencil tip sideburns. And I'm just watching my companion, who looks like you, Gregory, right now, just like laughing. I'm like, what is going on? I have no idea. And on our bike ride home, he's just like, oh my gosh, Elder Yao, you have no idea what your hair looks like. And I got home like, oh my gosh. And this was the time where our mission president asked us to part our hair. And our mission president was coming like that weekend to visit our branch, or not our branch, our ward. And I remember trying my hardest to like try to part my hair as much as I could. And yeah, so we called it my black man's haircut, which was just funny at the time. Um, that probably is one of my fondest memories of my mission.
Uh, awesome. Uh, so to explain kind of my response. So if any non-members are watching this, Mike, what is the typical haircut for a missionary?
I think it's changed recently. I feel like there's a little bit more lenience in the type of hairstyles our missionaries can have. But at least when I was a missionary, my mission president was very strict when it came to haircuts. So he asked us to have a part in our hair. So we would always need to part our hair. I mean, that was just specific for my mission president. So not all mission presidents are like that. But yeah, so we had to have enough hair on the top of our head to part it. We did we weren't he asked us not to have very extreme hairstyles, to deter from our message. But we were asked to part our hair, at least in the Florida Tallahassee mission when I was a missionary.
Cool. Okay, spiritual.
Spiritual experience. I would say um, probably one of the most spiritual experiences that I've had was after I finished my mission, was when I was able to have an opportunity to go back, and actually attend the temple with a part member family that I met on my mission, to be sealed. So yeah, I think probably that was one of the most spiritual, one of the probably the a big spiritual experience from my missionary service was to be able to see a family get sealed for time and all eternity in the temple, and be able to be with them along that journey, and them getting to that point. I still remember knocking on the door of the family. I remember walking in and there was like a picture of the temple on their wall, and we're like, oh, this was a less active member that we had no idea, or no idea was there or who he was. We were just kind of in the area. We received a referral. So as a missionaries, you get what we call media referrals. I don't know if they're called now that, but we occasionally people will call in to request a Bible or a Book of Mormon or a video. So we went to go visit someone and no one was there. So we're like, oh, let's just see who lives around here. So I remember knocking on their door and opening the door, and there was a picture of the Washington D.C. temple there. We're like, wow, who are these people? We've never met you before. And the brother said he always had a desire to be married in the temple, and his wife wasn't a member yet, so we had an opportunity to teach her. He came back to church. He was able to baptize her, and since then they were able to get sealed and have 2 kids. That were still Facebook friends. So that probably is one of my most spiritual experiences, was being able to go to the temple and going back to my mission, be able to be in the temple with them.
Cool. Let's see. How did you meet your wife?
Oh, so we met. I don't know if our stories will be very different, but I don't think they will. But we actually met in the young single adult. I think it's. I think we were a branch then, but we met in the young single adult branch here, in Albuquerque. So it was at the time the Nob Hill YSA branch. It was a branch. Yep. So when I was here, so that's how we met. So I was here as a pediatric resident. So I came here to do my residency at the University of New Mexico. And
So how many years ago was this that you were in the Nob Hill?
so I was in the Nob Hill branch when I finished. So 2013 to 2000, I was there for 4 years, 2017. I
Okay.
guess we got moved because our a new stake was formed. So I actually was switched over to the River's Edge YSA branch. So that's in the North Stake, towards the end of my time as a young single adult.
Okay. But so you met your wife. She sorry, you said Nob, was she in Nob Hill as well, or?
She was. So I was probably in my last year of residency. And I remember one of my good friends, his name was Mitch. And he was like, "Oh, we have some new people coming in. There's someone from BYU, who is going to be. She's a master's in public administration." And I'm like, "Oh, cool." And I remember I was like, "Is she cute?" And he was like, Mitch was just very politically correct. So he's like, "I don't know. I'm not gonna, no comment at all." And yeah, so she came as she took her first job at Sandia National Labs. And that's how we met. And yeah, I think my first memory of Jess probably was at a young single adult conference. And this is what I liked about her. And I love to dance. And we had a dance, and we just had a lot of fun dancing, not like together all the time, but kind of just dancing. So that probably is what piqued my interest in Jess. And also she was witty and quick to respond to my witty comments. So I think we like to banter back and forth as well. So I think that's another thing that
Cool.
piqued my interest.
Okay. What kind of dancing?
Oh, just any kind of dancing. So I'm not freestyle. I don't know what it's called.
I mean, that's what I excelled in as a youth.
So
Later,
no
I learned
professional
how
training.
not to dance. Say that again.
No professional training.
Yeah, I took a ballroom dancing class at BYU, and yeah, it didn't go over well.
I also took a ballroom dancing class. Yeah, but I think, yeah, just dancing and
Cool.
is kind of what I am. I'm sad to say, I hope my ballroom dance teachers don't hear this, but I don't think I remember. I think I remember how to do the cha-cha a little bit. So, but that's about it.
All right. Um, okay, so what about so your professional life? What do you do now?
Yeah, so I am a pediatric endocrinologist. So I'm in pediatrics, but I deal with hormones. So probably the biggest population that I see are kids with type 1 diabetes. So that's probably where my biggest passion is as far as improving their quality of life. But I also see thyroid problems in kids, growth problems in kids. So anything that there's a hormone, I am the specialist for that.
So acne, 'cause it seems like that's how hormones manifest through
Yeah, great
early.
question. So I would be more on the side. So that would be more like difficult to control acne would be more dermatology or your
Okay,
primary care doctor. So I would be more seeing them for either delayed puberty or early puberty.
okay.
Yeah.
And so what drove you into that field?
Oh, good question. So one thing that I usually tell my patients that I do, so in endocrinology, you're either deficient in something or you're making too much of something. So my job is to either give you back what you're deficient in and give you just enough that your body would be making normally, or if you're making too much of something, I suppress it. So I like there's a lot of pathways, a lot of it makes sense. So it's a some people in medicine call it a thinking subspecialty where you have to think about things. So I like that kind of if this happens and this is supposed to happen and trying to figure out what the problem is. I like that part. And I do a lot of labs. So kids usually are always like, "Are you going to draw labs on me?" And I always tell them you should be surprised if a pediatric endocrinologist doesn't get labs on you because that's kind of what we do. Um, so I like that, and it gives me an opportunity. I feel like a scientist where I give you a little bit too much hormone, then I have to bring it down, or give you too little, I have to bring it up. So I like that opportunity, and I like that part of my job that I can be also a little bit of a scientist at the same time and trying to help people be healthy.
So does that mean growing up, science was your favorite subject in school?
Yes, I would say yes.
Okay.
Science and algebra. I really loved algebra.
Yeah, I loved math, uh, not so much science. Um, but uh, am I correct in my assumption that you you normally you start out just studying like medicine in general, doctor stuff in general, and then you go to a specialty.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so it's a long road. So the typical traditional route is you'll do your undergraduate, so that's 4 years. And really, you can choose whatever major you want to. I majored in developmental um, biology, so physiology and developmental biology, and then you go to medical school. So medical school is 4 years. So 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of medical school, and then after medical school, you apply for residency, and residency is really what will kind of gear you towards what you want to do. So I did a pediatric residency, so that put me into pediatrics. Depending on your on your kind of what residency you do is how long. Pediatric residency is 3 years, so that was another 3 years. Um, And then after that, you could either be a general pediatrician. So just kind of the pediatrician you'd go to for just your yearly visits, or you can do a subspecialty. So I chose to do a subspecialty, and I chose to do endocrinology, and that's another 3 years. So really depending on, so it's yeah, quite a long road. So depending on what course you choose will depend on how long your medical training is.
So what drove you into just medicine in general?
Oh yeah, I think I grew up wanting to be a doctor. If you ask my mom, she said she probably brainwashed me to want to be a doctor, but I could not think of anything else. So ever since I was young, I always wanted to be a pediatrician.
Mhm.
Um, when I was in college, I was realistic. I'm like, maybe this medical school thing, or maybe what if I don't get into medical school? So I was either going to be a doctor, a pediatrician, or I was going to be an elementary school teacher. So if I didn't get into medical school, I probably would be teaching elementary school.
Still dealing with kids.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I do like working with kids.
Cool. Um, so let's talk about uh God. um,
Sure.
so you related one experience to do with the people that you taught on your mission, going back for the sealing. Um, Post mission, and I guess that was post mission, but uh,
That's okay.
post mission, what um, had what has caused you to trust? What has nurtured your testimony the most during your adult life? Go with that question.
Oh, that's a great question. Um, I think most recently, the biggest thing has been in my calling now, to be able to see miracles happen in the member or in the people that I have an opportunity to just see, just seeing miracles in people's life probably has nurtured my testimony the most. Um, just being able to see miracles that happen in members of the Canyon Works High, Canyon Heights Ward in people's lives, and being able to be part of these big moments in their lives has probably at this point
Right.
nurtured it most to help me know that God really is there. Um,
So how was being called as a bishop? Is that uh, scary?
Oh, definitely. I still think I'm not cut out to be a bishop at all. And I'm grateful for the Canyon Heights Ward for giving me a lot of grace because I definitely don't, I think there's so many others that could be do a better job than me. um, yeah, so I think Jess and I probably were in shock and are still in shock that I was called as a bishop. And I think it was even during COVID, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
you're called as a bishop, call counselors. I'm like, I have no idea who anyone in the ward is. And we, I was called in end of September and we moved in the ward in July. And yeah, so
So
July, August, September. So 2 months I was a member of the Canyon Heights ward when I was called to be the bishop of the Canyon Heights ward. And I think we mainly knew the missionaries because we were still going to church based on last name for a little while. um,
right. Yeah.
yeah, so yeah.
Okay. So um, you said you basically didn't know anyone because it was COVID and you were new. So what was the experience like in choosing counselors?
So I relied a lot on, or It was so it really helps when there's people's pictures on the word directory because I used that a lot as I was thinking. But the stake also was kind enough to give me some other names to consider and ponder. And my Jess was helpful where we were given a charge from our stake president to both consider names on counselors on who to choose. So we were able to do that together. But I would say pictures on the
Yeah.
church directory was very helpful.
Well, and I guess to me it seems like that's uh one of the earliest ways that God comforts you in getting the calling is that immediately. I'm sure it's also very intimidating getting that revelation, but I mean, once you have it, which from all the stories I hear, it happens pretty quickly. Um, that I assume that nourished your testimony and
Oh, absolutely. I would say mine probably took a little, I think I had a week to think about it. So I definitely went back and forth between a lot of names. So my process probably wasn't as quick as some others who might know the ward. Um, so yeah, I get all of us get revelation in different ways too. So
that is true. Um, what life experience has caused you to trust most in God?
oh, um, I would say which life experience? I, I would have to say accepting a call to be a bishop probably is the biggest one at this point.
Yeah, I was
Uh, I would say before that, probably
thinking in
serving a
that too.
mission. But at this point, I would say like evaluating probably being called as a bishop has probably put me in a position where I need to trust in God quite often. I think for me, I'm just someone who I just go and do things, if that makes sense. So I have an assignment, I'll do it. But I think being a bishop has really caused me to stop sometimes and trust in God a little bit more than I am naturally inclined to do, if that makes sense. So maybe that's what I'm supposed to learn from this calling is that I need to trust in God more because I'm just like, oh, go do it, let's get it done. I can do this. But being a bishop has really taught me and caused me to remember that I need to trust in God more.
All right. Um, what do you love about the Canyon Heights Ward?
Oh, that's a great question. I love that we're all different. I think we're all from different parts. I don't know if people would think that, but I think we all have
Uh,
different talents, different abilities. And I just love that we all have different experiences and that we all can come together to make something beautiful, if that makes sense. So I love, and I think every ward probably is the same, right? But I just love that there's different experiences, different occupations, different stages in life that I think all of those differences coming together makes something beautiful and complete.
cool. Um, what family relationships have had the most impact on your life
Oh, um,
that stand out?
yeah. I think probably my relationship with my wife. I think growing up, so I not growing up, but kind of I got married. We got married a little bit later on. So in like Latter-day Saint terms, I was about to age out of the young single adult branch before I ended up getting married. But I think I was pretty set on my life. If I was single, I was like, I could be single. I'm fine. I have a job. I am happy. I'm accomplishing what I feel like I need to. But then when I got married, I realized why everyone was like, "Oh, things can get better with a significant other, with a partner in your life." So I think that probably that relationship has probably been the biggest impact that wow, I do need help. I'm not just this independent person that I thought I was.
Okay. So I have one more question after this, but anything else that comes to mind? Any stories about anything or that you can think of? If not, we can just go straight to the question. But
Oh no, I would say probably a recent experience and a sweet experience that I had was with Ezra, my 3-year-old. I think sometimes people may think, oh, the bishop's family is like the perfect family, and I want I think I would say everyone that that probably isn't the case. That we have the same struggles that we're all going through. We're just trying to work together. And yesterday was just a hard day for the Yao family, I would say. And just as we went to bed at night, Ezra prayed that we all could be kind like Jesus, that we won't fight. It was just a sweet experience to know that my 3-year-old um, knows about Jesus Christ and that we can all become better. And we all can things to improve on in our own family lives. And I think that's important to know that we're all trying to work together and learning from each other. Yeah.
okay, so final question. And right now, I feel like Regis Philbin on the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire thing. But
Hopefully I get the $1 million question right. Then I can retire and live a nice life. Just
yeah,
teasing.
it's a subjective question, so it's the similarity that this is the final question. So if you could send one message 100 years into the future for your posterity to hear, what would it be?
That things will always get better. As we live the gospel of Jesus Christ, we can have hope that things will get better.
All right. Well, thank you, Mike, for joining us today. And we'll hear from your wife soon. So, uh, bye to Bishop and to the audience. So
Thank you.
tuning in. Okay, bye.